It's been a long time since I last presented you with a story involving a dog, but I think it's time to show you this unique and wonderful event. You need to know that it is an unfortunate event. The old dog was no longer needed. What they did to him would make you cry for days. This story began in the fall. The old dog was 10 years old. All his life, he was next to his beloved family. In fact, he came to their home when he was only a month old. He grew up and was always a good friend. Everything was fine until suddenly, everything changed from one day to the next. He heard the voices of his owners, but between them, the voice of someone else was heard. It was clear that it was something new for him. It was the cry of a newborn. The parents were happy with the arrival of their firstborn. The grandparents shared the same emotion. And who would not be satisfied with the arrival of a baby? The dog went to see what was going on. He noticed and wagged his tail, approaching the little girl. It was clear he had been happy too. However, he was not allowed to come to the little girl. He received a loud yelp instead and was taken to the backyard. For the first time, the dog lay chained. The animal did not understand what was happening or what he had done wrong. He just wanted to greet the baby. He spent more than a week chained. Suddenly, the dog heard some screaming. It was the voice and the woman telling her husband some things, but it was unintelligible. Then the man approached the dog, telling him, "It's your time," and started to release him. The dog wagged his tail in happiness. However, the confusion came when he was put into the vehicle's back seat, and the woman approached the man. "I know it's not good, but he's an old dog now. Do what you must do. Remember, we have a little one." Suddenly, the guy got into the car, started it up, and began to drive. The dog moved his head from side to side, not understanding that his destiny would change abruptly. The dog turned around and looked out the car's back window. He watched as his house became less and less visible. They were driving further and further away. The dog just stuck his head out the window and felt wind gusts on his face. His ears moved like a fan. Maybe a long walk is not so bad after all. Enjoying a moment like this is lovely, or so the dog imagined. Suddenly, they arrived at an utterly lonely place. The man opened the door, and the dog got out, wagging its tail as if it wanted to play. But something happened. The man got back into the car. He quickly turned it on and started to drive away. The dog remained sitting on the side of the road. He looked to one side, then the other, and there was nothing around him. An old dog lay abandoned to his fate, but he did not understand the situation. Maybe he was just forgotten and left waiting on the side. It was freezing. A day passed, 2 days. The dog decided to return. And despite his age, he would bravely undertake a long journey. His family must be waiting for him at home. He only had to return the way he came. He began to walk, using his sense of smell as never before. He walked and walked, but on many occasions he got lost. He was already exhausted. He was hungry and thirsty. He arrived in a city, passed through the 3 towns, and unfortunately, his home did not appear. He was often beaten. From being a home dog, he became a stray, feeding on garbage, sometimes on food given to him by kind people, and drinking water from the small streams that crossed the city. His clean face became a map of scars due to the constant fights he had with other dogs. His happy eyes lay dull, but he did not give up. So more than 3 long years passed. Finally, he could see his beloved and precious home from afar. Although he had no more strength, he wagged his tail with happiness. It had been a long time since he felt that joy, and he began to run to his home. With his paw, he pushed through the door, then he entered. The woman, who was caring for her daughter, heard the door open. And when she saw the dog, she was astonished. It was unexpected. He was all dirty, with wounds, and he was limping. That's how the old dog stood in front of her, looked at her with those eyes that showed loyalty and fidelity, and then greeted the man. But suddenly, the dog did something else. Although he was exhausted, he went to the little girl, who had been frightened at the sight of him. She was crying, for never before had a dog approached her. He sniffed and then licked her hand. The little girl calmed down and smiled. Then he lay down placidly on the rug right next to her. "But what is he doing here?" asked the wife. "I don't know," answered the husband. "I took him far away. I don't know how he got back, but leave him. Did you see that he didn't do anything to our daughter? He's already here." The dog then sighed, closed his eyes, and never opened them again. What is a dog for you? Yes, there will be thousands of positive and negative answers, but for me, it is a being that is weak before the human. It is enough to put a dog in the street to know that possibly it will not survive, because the life expectancy of a stray dog is too short. I am sure we can do something about it, as long as we know that it is better to adopt than to buy, and give away than to abandon when you can't take care of it. Let me tell you something else. A dog can have more heart than a person. If someday you are a parent, remember not to leave aside your beloved four-legged friend. They will continue to give you the unconditional and loyal love we often need. If this story moved you, please share it with your loved ones. It will help us to keep growing together.